All right, now let's talk about area management. Area management is critical in the setter role. If you're going to get the most out of your zone, your area management needs to be at a high level. Some of the top reps in the industry set themselves a route for the day and do not deviate from it, even if they see what appears to be an easier prospect. If you do find yourself deviating from your path, it is easy to fall into the trap of continuing on from where you are now and not where you diverted from. The problem with that is you can end up with sections of your zones that are unwalked and missed completely. Going back to those sections at this point is now time that could have been used for hitting up homeowners that you missed the first time around, right? They were not home, or even going into new areas in a new zone, right? So take some time at the beginning of the day to plot your course and set yourself up for success. The goal is to speak to as many homeowners as possible, so preparation is key. All right, so you knocked, they answered. You're talking to the homeowner. First step, break preoccupation. When a customer answers the door, they are preoccupied on two different levels, right? They're thinking about what they were just doing or what they need to do, and they're going into a programmed mode of behavior based on previous sales interactions or perceived assumptions. So how do we break the preoccupation? There's three different ways, right? Ask a qualifying question, pattern interrupt, or say something relatable. Breaking preoccupation is the simple technique of breaking them out of their programmed modes of thought so that they are more receptive to your offer, right? It creates immediate engagement or interest, and it breaks out of the mold of a typical sales interaction so that they see you as a person and not just a salesperson.
So now let's dive into how we break down the customer's preoccupation. So Tyler, what are the three levels of preoccupation?
All right, so you got your asking a qualifying question, right? So that's like, are you the homeowner? You got your pattern interrupt. That could be like a joke that you tell or something that's just kind of a little something to break the ice, right? And then you have saying something relatable. Good example of that would be, I grew up in the Puget Sound. I walked up to a door one time, they had a painting on their wall that was of the Puget Sound. So I was like, hey, I grew up there.
Okay, so for qualifying questions, we're gonna kind of do a couple. Tyler, why don't you go first?
Like I said before, are you the homeowner, right? That's a good one.
Another one that you can ask is, how long have you lived here?
Yep, that's a great one. Also, is this the original roof?
Okay, so for pattern interrupters, right? The whole goal here is to just be different than maybe any other door-to-door salesperson that's gone to this person's house and tried to sell them something, right? Reality of it is we're probably not the first. And so we want to make ourselves different so that this customer actually wants to have a conversation with us. So Tyler, give us an example of something like that.
Yeah, so if you use a longboard to kind of skate around or something in your neighborhood you're assigned to kind of get from point A to point B quickly, right? And that's right there. You could mention that to them. If they have a little dog or something like that that's just barking at the door, you could crack a joke to, like, oh, is that the home protector? Just a little something to just break the ice.
So the third option for breaking preoccupation is saying something relatable. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so just try to get on the same level as the homeowner, all right? Kind of try to build that rapport, that bond with them. It doesn't have to be super deep, all right? It could be simple as you like cars and you saw that they have a cool Mustang in their driveway, right? Maybe you have a similar car. Spark up a conversation about that. Just kind of grab their attention, make yourself more likable to them.
Yeah, and another one that I've personally done is when you walk up to somebody's house and they have a perfectly manicured lawn, right? Hey, do you guys do your own lawn or do you guys have somebody else do that? This looks beautiful. Say something relatable, get them, to kind of bring their guard down and be willing to have even a small conversation with you. Because once they start having a conversation with you, they're going to realize that you're not a threat and be a lot more likely to open up and converse with you.
Yep. All right, so step 2, who are you and What are you doing? Right? So you want to give your intro statement. At this point, be clear and concise. Use your first and your last name. State the company, tell them why you were there, and then move on without pause. Right? That's very important. Introducing yourself with a first and last name is a best practice when working with a customer because it demonstrates confidence, builds credibility and trust, and it also helps break their preoccupation. Right? You want to move on without pause because you don't want to leave any gaps for them to just slip that no in, right? You just want to keep pushing through so that way you can deliver your whole pitch. All right, so step 3 is the reason, right? You're going to want to give a value proposition, which means what's in it for the customer, but also what's in it for you or us as a company. Right? It's important to identify both sides of the value proposition to legitimize your offer. This builds trust and helps the customer avoid feeling that it's too good to be true, right? Low value plus more reasons not to buy equals no's. High value plus less reasons not to buy equals more yeses. When the value exceeds the price, that is when a sale can transact. Value comes from connecting the benefits of your product to the problems or needs that a customer experiences. Building value is one of the primary tools in your sales arsenal. When your product or service is relatable and applicable to them specifically, it is much easier to make a sale. All right, so step 4, let's talk about pullbacks. As salespeople, we have all experienced the feeling of tension in the buying process when we can sense the customer's walls building, right? Their skepticism is rising. Their natural inclination to protect themselves is starting to dominate. So what do we do to relieve the buying tension? Pullbacks are the solution to this buying tension, which is the pressure that can build in a sales interaction that makes the customer uncomfortable and the process even more difficult to navigate. Pullbacks can be used at any point in the sales process, from the very beginning through to the final close. Whenever you feel the customer's walls going up, work a subtle pullback into your flow to alleviate the pressure. Whenever you use a pullback in your sales process, you want to make sure that you follow it with a simple transition statement that leads you right back into your flow. All right, so the next step and the final step is the transition. There are many small transitions and movements that happen within the sales process, but the final step in every door pitch is a transition into whatever the next step of the sale is. Right? For setters, this could be transitioning into gathering customer info to set the appointment. For direct sales, this might be transitioning into a credit check or into closing or contracts, or any number of other possibilities based on your role and offer. Regardless of what the next step is, a smooth transition will allow you to successfully guide the customer forward. All right, so first off in the script, we have, are you the homeowner? Right? That comes down to, it's a qualifying question. We want to make sure that we're talking to the right person. We're not talking to a renter or some kid that lives there, who's an adult that doesn't actually own the home or whatever circumstances it may be. We want to make sure that we're actually talking to the homeowner, the person who can make the decisions. All right, so next up, we've got the who are you and what are you doing, right? So the way we handle that in the script is we just go, awesome, I'll be super quick. We're just the ones taking care of the roof inspections for the neighborhood. My name's Tyler Williams, and I'm with All Concepts Exteriors. So I just stated my name first and last, right? That's to help build that trust with the customer. I'm giving them my full name, right? I'm not trying to be shady, not trying to be secret, not saying like, oh yeah, hey, I'm Tyler. Like, nope, clear, concise, confident, tell them my name, who we are as a company, and move forward from there. All right, so next up, we got the what's in it for us and what's in it for you. What we're doing is, since a lot of your neighbors have been getting their roofs redone, right, we do a free roofing inspection on the homes that qualify. we give you a detailed inspection report for your records. Now, what's in it for us is we get to go directly to you, the homeowner, right? Without spending thousands on advertising, which can also help create jobs for people like me. At the same time, we get to help educate the community and the homeowners on the condition of their roofs, right? Believe it or not, only about 2% of homeowners actually know when it's time to replace their roof. Now, we're one of the few companies that will actually sit down with you, explain what's happening up there and why. No pressure, just honest info to help you make the right decision. Even if you don't need any work right now, you might later, or you might refer to someone who does, right? Your friends, your family. Offering free inspections helps us stay visible and active in the community. And we're happy to be a resource whenever you need us, today or years from now, right? So in that, we bring up the words qualified, right? We want to make sure that people hear that word, qualify. It's very important because people love to qualify for things. Don't know why, don't ask me, human nature. But we have that word qualify, and also we have all those listed things down below where we're talking about what's in it for us. That's bringing the balance to the relationship, right? We're giving them a free something, but we get something in return for it. All right, so up next, we got the pullback. All right, pullback, very important. It alleviates the pressure on the sale, right? So the way we do that is not everybody has to do it, but most people are. Now, we just inspected Bob's down the street, and we found he had a lot of the same things going on as the rest of the neighbors in the neighborhood that had their roofs replaced, right? You're specifying that not everyone has to do it, right? But there's a lot of people that are. It alleviates that pressure, right? And then the second part, saying that we've done inspections, we found issues, is looping you right back into your flow for your pitch. All right, so lastly, we have the transition, right? That's the tail end of the conversation, right? Where you're trying to transition everything into that sale. All of it's built up to this point, right? So we say our roofing specialist will be in the area for the next few days, right? You're creating scarcity there. And then you say, I have openings on this time, and this time, based off of whatever we see on the schedule, right? So you're not asking them, hey, do you want the inspection, right? You're just saying, hey, we have openings on this time and this time. This works for you? They say no, keep pushing. Move to a different time, right? Find a time that works best for them, right? You want to assume the sale. You don't want to just be like, oh, hey, do you want this? It's not going to work.